Wolcen servers were down for more than 48 hours. During that time, I was playing in offline mode, trying to figure out things, and hopefully get to a point of being able to talk about theory crafting. I'm not at the point that I wish to be, but I can at least share what I've noticed so far in the hopes that it helps somebody. I will only be talking about Melee and Ranged as I feel spells are not that great. But I'll go ahead and use one of my lower level characters just to kind of show you the passive tree, and we'll go from there. So starting with Melee. There's two ways to handle Melee. You can do all damage or some damage and some critical. If you're doing the all damage build, that can work with either two-hand or one-hand. So what you're going to do under that build is you're going to work with Retaliator. Retaliator says each point of physical resistance increases all forms of damage output. The cost of reduced chance to land critical hits. And it has two nodes right here to increase that percentage. What you're going to do with that is you're going to come down to Siegebreaker, and you're going to go for a Salvatore Anchor. Between this and this, you should be doing a lot of damage. So what Salvatore Anchor does is it says if you have a heavy chest piece, its all resistance bonus is doubled. And then you can go in here for Elevated Gain. Then you can further that with a helmet. It's going to increase its resistance score based on the helmet as well. So yeah, those two work really well together. But if you're doing a critical build and you're running like two-handed, damage is going to be your thing, so there's actually a really good way of handling that. I think the best way is going under EOS, because the Chains of Baffet skill, or whatever it's called, says that it can convert all of its damage to sacred damage. I think it's the only skill in the game outside of casting that does sacred damage, at least from what I've seen. So under EOS, you'll find these right here. Purge and Final Sacrament increases sacred damage. And then there's this. Dealing sacred damage instantly kills enemies below 15% of their max health. Underlings and specialists only. But then you upgrade that to champions with sudden death. So with Chains of Baffet, it essentially becomes an executioner skill once you have Don's Pie Striker enabled and things like that. But yeah, so that's probably the best way of handling two-handed, or really, well, I guess two-handed more than one-handed. We'll go over one-handed in just a second, but yeah. So you just have to make a choice if you're doing just damage or relying on critical. But moving on to one-handed. So same idea, you can use Retaliator, but another thing you can do is, because you'll already be down here for Salvatore Anchor, if you want to go one-handed, you'll find two Brutal Impositions right here. These little nodes below Belligerent Hammer, or Banner. And then directly past them is Bane of Tyranny. Bane of Tyranny definitely has its description way off. There is no way that you would multiply your damage by that much. But yeah, so with these three, it'll make it so your one-handed damage is at least doing something close to two-handed. It won't be exact, but it's better than nothing. So that will certainly help you with that. And then, of course, because Belligerent Banner is only one more point after the fact, you might as well get it, because it's going to be more block chance, essentially. So there's that. Now, because the description and tooltips are screwed up, I don't know too much about these skills, but I can say that this is where it's most confusing. You'll notice it says equipped shields block chance. So it's not saying the base block chance or things like that. So based on the way it is now until it gets fixed, I'm going to guess that it just means the shield block chance, i.e. what you have. So if that's the case, then that should mean Kingless Aegis should trigger that even further, because you have block efficiency, block chance, and all that under here. So I'm thinking that will probably do it, but who knows. But anyways, yeah, so that's Melee. Let's look at range now. Range is very straightforward. It has way more passives for damage than Melee will ever hope to have. With range, it's very straightforward. You want to go into Sentinel, Ranger, possibly Assassin for more critical down there. But after all that, the next considerations would be either Exorcist for Blessed Silver, which increases your skill damage based on how many anointed ammunition you have. You gain ammunition back for dealing critical hits, so that certainly helps. Another consideration is Hungry Stalacete under White Arrow, which increases the damage per pierce remaining on a projectile. You can increase that even further right there. That's certainly worth a consideration. Then another consideration is Alistor. Intravenous Neural Core increases attack speed after a critical hit, so that will certainly help. And there's a lot of critical nodes under there, so that helps too. But after that, I would stick to just that, because we need. Let me go and just talk about Duskglaive, because I've seen people run Duskglaive as ranged, which creates a decoy when you dodge. While it is nice and all, I just don't think that it's worth the points. Once you start getting into the turret and other skills, you really should not be needing to spend your very precious passive points into a decoy. Plus, if you look at all the passive notes here, they're going to be shadow damage in this region, plus or minus the stamina point and, well, dodge score, but you can get dodge score elsewhere. You're not really going to be dealing shadow damage, so I don't see the point in doing this. I guess you could run Dawn's Pious Striker and just go up top where it says attack damage, so when you do get a bow that has gem slots, you can put the sacred jewels in there, the ones that do damage, sacred damage anyways. You can trigger that way, but I don't think that would be as efficient as Chains of Baphomet. However, I do think that this Dawn's Pious Striker stuff will be far more valuable than Duskglaive. If you can kill an enemy in one shot, then you won't have to worry about a decoy. That's just the logic there. And even if you can't kill them, you should have a lot of stamina and dodge ability from just running all of this stuff over here. So, okay, so let's go ahead and just talk about the global stuff, and then we'll end there. There's two global skills that really work for either build, and they are Furious Appetite under Child of Fury, which makes it so you generate rage now instead of willpower. That makes it so you can start an engagement with your skill rather than waiting for auto attacks. And then the other one is Feast for the Crows, which is Global Life Leech and Life Leech from attack damage. So these are your two global ones. Under Child of Fury, though, I do not recommend using Frenzied Blows. The problem with Frenzied Blows is, while yes, it does a ton of damage, the issue is you don't get to pick what it triggers on. Now for range, because it has a lot of pierce and stuff, I guess it could work, but I still wouldn't want to do that. Melee, definitely don't want to do it though. I don't see this as working for Melee. But yeah, those two are your range things. Oh, actually, you know what? Let me just talk about Sparking Dart real quickly, because this is something that's going to be very unique. So Sparking Dart makes it so you have power charge points, and this is what you use to activate device or lightning skills. There's a two-handed sword in the game that makes it so you can cast lightning spells. This is something you would need to work with that, because being in between willpower and rage is just not going to work for melee or ranged builds. You really need to be all rage in those scenarios so that you can be at your best. But if you are going to be running that two-handed sword that does allow you to do that, then you're going to need Sparking Dart for that. But yeah, that's all I have. Thanks for listening.